For a long, long time, one of the most misunderstood communities on Earth has been trying to get a message to the rest of us. So in this explainer, we're going to hear that message directly from them, in their own words. We're talking about their hopes, their demands, and, their vision for all of us.
Let's just start with this incredibly powerful statement from Arjun, a 13-year-old poet. This one sentence really frames the entire conflict we need to understand. It's this profound disconnect between the inner self and the outer body. And that's the reality for every single person you're about to hear from. So, that leads us to the question that's really at the heart of all this. What if this community, so often silenced, so often ignored, had a message that wasn't just about their own lives, but about the future of all of humanity? Well, as you're going to see, they do. And they really, really want us to listen. Okay, let's dive into their first core message. And it is so important to get this. What you're about to hear isn't an interpretation from parents or doctors. This is coming directly from the non-speakers themselves. These really are the voices from within. So here's the crucial point, the foundational idea they need us all to grasp. Inside bodies that can seem unruly, that can be uncooperative, there are intelligent, fully aware, and, often gifted minds. Like one speller, Alex V., put it so simply, I'm here, I hear and understand you. That is all I need people to know. And this just captures their plea so perfectly. Lily's words show that deep, deep yearning not just to be understood, but to actually contribute. They feel like they have so much to offer the world if we can just get past what our eyes are seeing and truly start to listen. Now, here's where it starts to get even more interesting, because their message goes way beyond just asking for a little understanding. What they're really asking us to do is to shatter our current reality and consider a totally different kind of existence. And look at the stark contrast here. On the one hand, you see society's labels, right? Words like disability or learning difficulties. But then you look at how they describe themselves. One person says they aren't under-functioning, they're ultra-functioning. Another, Jackson, says he has the mind of a genius. It's not a disability, he says. It's a misunderstood gift. This quote from Joe and Alex really gets to the heart of it. They're explaining that their experience isn't just, a slight variation of a typical mind. No, it's fundamentally different. Thinking of it as a completely different operating system, that's a really powerful way to start to wrap your head around this. And all of that brings us to their most basic, their most non-negotiable demand. Before anything can change in education, in medicine, in society, this has to happen first. In Lily's words, nothing will change until you believe us. Belief. That's the starting line. So once you start with that foundation of belief, then come the very specific, very practical demands. This isn't just some philosophical discussion for them. It's a real call for tangible, systemic change. It's about rebuilding our world. When it comes to the education system, their roadmap is crystal clear. Number 1, presume competence. Just stop assuming there's a lack of intelligence. 2, train the partners and facilitators they need to communicate. 3, create sensory-neutral environments so they can actually regulate their bodies and engage. And finally, give them access to the real curriculum, because their minds are absolutely hungry for it. And their demands for the medical system? Just as direct. They need doctors to accept their communication methods and to include them in conversations about their own health. They describe having this incredibly acute awareness of their own bodies, and they believe they can help enormously with diagnosis if they're just listened to. They're also asking for an end to what they call discriminatory neglect, and for access to a much wider range of therapies. Okay, so now we're going to pivot from the practical stuff to something, way more profound. Because beyond just changing our current systems, many non-speakers believe they actually offer a glimpse into humanity's next evolutionary step. This whole idea comes from a speller named Anthony. He actually describes himself as a futuristic human. And what he means by that is he believes that he and others like him possess abilities, things like telepathic communication, heightened intuition, that the rest of humanity will eventually, one day, evolve into. And here's kind of how Anthony explains it. He says he can tune into specific vibrational frequencies to access information and even transfer thoughts. He believes he remembers a state of being, a connection to a type of knowledge that most of us have just forgotten. Now, check this out. This is a fascinating and really challenging idea from a speller named Asher, who completely flips our common understanding of brainwaves on its head.
He basically says the experts have it backwards. So where we might think the lowest frequency, delta, is just deep sleep, he says it's actually when consciousness is at its most expanded. It's beyond the brain. In his view, the ideal state is alpha, that perfect balance between being grounded in your body, but still linked to a higher self. And this idea from Jess builds right on top of that. It's a simple but absolutely profound claim. Consciousness is the fundamental reality. It comes before our physical experience, and it continues after. The body, in this view, is just a temporary phase, a temporary part of consciousness.
So after all these incredible kind of reality-bending concepts and all these very practical demands, what's the one thing that ties it all together? What do they believe is the single most important force for all of us to focus on?
Well, it starts with this simple, beautiful truth from John Paul. Across the board, this is the theme you hear again and again. It's like they can see past all the material illusions that so many of us get caught up in, and they just focus on what truly matters.
And this is it. This is the number one takeaway, the ultimate message that brings everything else together. Anthony calls love the highest human power. Houston says his job is to make the world hear that God is love. Andrew says he's here to show a way of being one just of love. You see, it all comes back to this one central idea.
Jackson expands on this, highlighting the active power of compassion. And what's so incredible here is his idea that compassion is a force that actually works even when it's unspoken. Just holding it in your heart, he says, can change everything. It's an energy that has a real, tangible impact on the world. And we come back to Houston, whose message really feels like a statement of his ultimate purpose in life. For him, this isn't just a nice little sentiment. It's his mission. It's the core truth he believes he is here on this planet to share with all of us. And we'll just let Houston have the final word on this single sentence. It just captures the certainty, the conviction of every single person we've heard from. For them, this isn't a theory. It's not a belief system. It's their lived reality. And for them, there is no doubt. So we end right where we began, with a question. We've heard their message, we've heard their demands, and we've heard their vision. They believe they're the futuristic humans, here to show the rest of us the path forward. The only real question left is, are we ready to see it?